Tonight I'm going to take the Celestron out. I've got it set up. It's been a while. One of the reasons I haven't been able to get it out is that its operating temperature range is about 23 degrees to 104 Fahrenheit. So trying to match up dark skies, clear skies, and the correct temperature range for the night has been a challenge, but tonight, right now, it's in the 50s, and I don't think it says that it will not drop below 45, so I'm in good shape with regard to operating temperature. And I want to do the winter targets. I started doing winter targets with the sea stars and the dwarfs, and basically those have a lower operating range, so I was able to find spots for that. But Celestron and Unistellar are going to be more of a challenge. Unistellar, that operating temperature is between 32 and 104. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I've got the Celestron polar aligned, and we're going to pick out the most obvious target first, which is M42. I'm going to start out with 30-second exposure. When I had it set last, it was set for, oh dear, I've got I gotta reset my Elgato card here. Okay, let's just start the imaging. the Celestron does have a way to rotate the camera, but it is not simple. I would have to pull off the dew shield and rotate the camera that way, so the orientation is basically going to have to remain as it is. I don't really have a means to go out and do that in a timely fashion. I am concerned about the stars. 30 seconds. I should not have those star trails. Now, Celestron was aligned very close to polar alignment. I got it almost dead center. I don't have the fine control to play with it to get it exactly dead center. Threads on the screws are basically not fine enough to do that, but you know, this isn't exactly what I had anticipated. I thought the star quality would be better. I have a guide scope on it. It's giving me orientation issues. This is I'm not sure if it's a bug with Elgato or the iPad. I don't want to fight this all night. I'm gonna end this. They had a recent update, and I don't think it's really a problem here. Stars just do not look right. I'm going to go back into settings and let's take exposure down to 20. See if that changes anything. Now you can see in this image, stars are in focus. They look pretty nice. And I don't think I can get this aligned any better than it is, polar aligned. So now there is a little bit of wind, but Celestron is pretty heavy, so I don't anticipate wind being an issue. Stars are even at 20 seconds, they just don't look quite right. Now my Celestron had the original camera, and that was IMX 178, so that would be the Celestron 1. But I upgraded it to the Celestron 2. I purchased the IMX 678. Difference between the two cameras are substantial. The 678 is a more modern camera, lower noise, 8.4 megapixel, 2 micrometer pixels, and in terms of resolution, there's really no difference. Both the IMX 178, the Origin 1 with the IMX 178, and the Origin 2 with the IMX 678 have a resolution of 1.48 arc seconds per pixel. But in terms of the 178, the pixels are 2.4 micrometer per pixel. So there's a slight improvement with the 678. I'm going to try something different. I went through the trouble of polar aligning it so we can get longer exposures, but I'm just I'm not happy with this. Stars are just not round. They look like teardrops. So what I will do is I'll go back and reset the camera to auto. And I believe auto mode with the Celestron is 10 seconds, so unless they did something in the update that I'm not aware of, but we'll see if we get a better stacking. Yeah, the stars are much rounder. I'm not getting that teardrop effect. Well, that would tell me that regardless of how well I polar aligned it, it wasn't tracking quite right. At some point I'll do a video of the polar tracking, and you can look at how you do it. I'm sure a lot of you already know that, how to do it, but what would be interesting is seeing what the best I can do in terms of adjusting the polar tracking versus star quality when I increase exposure time. Now when you put the new camera in, you have to take a new set of darks, which I have done, and it looks like I've got a hot pixel, and you have to take a new set of flats, which I also have done. And the process for doing new flats and darks, you can find that on the Celestron website when you do the upgrade from the IMX 178 to the 678. And I didn't chance, the technique of just before sunset putting a t-shirt over the aperture. I actually do have a dedicated flat panel that I put on, so I don't have any issues with the quality of my flat panel or flats in this. I may have to do another set of darks, but but I'd say that this image quality is not bad. I got maybe 3 or 4 hot pixels I can see. I don't know if you can see them on your screen. But you could take those out with PixInsight, clean up the image. Well, I think this pretty much shows you the ability of the Celestron, your resolution. You can see features. Nebulosity looks good. The Celestron processing routine is not bad. So for an overall camera that, or setup that a person just starting out could use, this is definitely a contender, but it is very expensive. My setup, well, I think the scope's going to run about, what, 4,300, and for the Origin 2, and if you get a auto guider, it's another 800, and get a wedge, it's another 450, unless you can find one used. With all of that equipment, it is extremely heavy. So the setup, if you go to the field, you have to strip it down and then assemble it in the field. And I've gone through in some of my earlier videos, like the unboxing video of the Celestron and setup, I did talk about the weight of the unit even without the wedge and the guide scope. So it's not going to be trivial. Now with my scope, what I have done is I have put it on a set of casters so that I can roll it out. And I stored in an area where I have a ramp that I could roll it down and take it out. But I would recommend that when you do assemble it, you do it with an extra pair of hands, a person there that can help stabilize the scope as you put it in its bracket and balance it. I have seen comments on various user forums that people have dropped the scope during assembly and have damaged the tube, so this is not the easiest scope to set up. Well, let's end the image, and I'll download and save this one. And I'm heartbroken that I had to go to auto. I couldn't go to longer exposure. Okay, final image is being processed. me okay. I'm going to save this. And what I might do is I can post a link so that you can look at these saved images, but I'll have to do it later, so if you come back to the video, you can find the link in the description. So let's go up here and pick IC 434 as our next target. As you can see, this doesn't have the field of view that other scopes have. If I were able to rotate the camera, I could perhaps catch the flame nebula. But this is just going to be a Horsehead Nebula. Thinking about the wind outside, and it is possible that the wind was the issue with the quality of the stars on the longer exposure. It is the unit is a very heavy scope, but even a heavy scope can be affected. So I suspect that's the problem. I probably, on another night, I'll try this again if it's a still night, and see if I can go up to the higher exposure levels. But at least with automatic, stars are looking okay. And the good thing about a Celestron with a 6-inch RASA, it has a focal ratio of 2.2, and it is a light bucket. You have no problem with dim objects. I don't know if you have looked at my prior videos with the sea stars, but to get an image like this with the Horsehead, it would take 15-20 minutes. And look at how nice and crisp the image looks. And that's only 7 frames, that's 70 seconds. So this speaks to power of the Celestron. I think one of the other nice features that I like about the Celestron is the RASA tube itself is not only a great collector of light, but it is very stable. If you take it on the field, you don't want to jostle it. It would be good to pad it when you're driving, but the scope can withstand quite a bit of jostling, and it doesn't need alignment. And aligning, scopes that have a mirrored optical system is a trick. I have to do the alignment on my unistellar, which has a Newtonian set, or mirror set, and the alignment is probably the worst part of it. And if you take it on the road, which I have done, the unistellar, that is, the Newtonian telescope, aligning it in the field is, well, if it jostles too much, you will have to align it. And doing an alignment in the field is not the easiest thing. So there's a lot to be said for a RASA. It travels well. It is a light bucket, and it gives excellent quality pictures. The optics are outstanding. But again, I'm just impressed with this. You know, it's 160 seconds, and if I were doing a demonstration, that's another beautiful thing about the Celestron, is you can have multiple people access it, even on its own hotspot, so that they could see this image on their own device if they had the C-Star app. I think there's a limit, though. I think maybe 10 people can access it, but the other good thing about it is it's very easy to take the image and then transmit it to a television, smart TV. So you have another possible way of sharing images. Or if you took a projector out into the field with the screen, you can project it on the screen. So multiple ways to work with a Celestron for a star party. Well, I think, 220 seconds, I've got a decent image. I'm going to download this and save it. And then we'll pick up the Flame Nebula. don't know if you noticed the halo on can't remember the star's name, but the star has a halo. That's actually due to the Raza optics, and also due to the fact that I have a filter installed. It's a Celestron dual band filter. The halo isn't as bad if you use the clear filter, which you need to have a glass clear filter in the Celestron, just unfiltered imaging. And that's due to the Celestron tried to explain it to me, but my understanding is it's due to this focal ratio and the optics that they actually install a clear filter. So when you install the Celestron dual band filter, you pull the clear filter out and save it. I keep the dual band filter in because it does help block out a lot of the street lights in the area that I live in, since my sky quality can go anywhere from a Bortle 6 to a Bortle 9. I think a few nights ago I actually took the sky quality meter out and measured something like 15.05 for the sky quality meter reading, and that's Bortle 9, and that had to do with the combination of street lights and moon. Yeah, the star, I was trying to remember its name. I was going to say something that was incorrect, but it's Alnitak. Now, if I'm looking at this, I think the color of the flame is almost perfect. It's really a nice color. Stars are nice, round, crisp. Detail in the flame nebulosity. The only thing I can really complain about is the halo around Alnitak. bright stars will show that. It's the combination of the filter and the Raza optics. The other thing that I think's really remarkable is you have 405 seconds in this, and 420 seconds now. So I guess in automatic it sets it to 15-second exposure. I thought it was 10, but it's 15. So with 15-second exposures and a little over 400 seconds, you get a wonderful image. So as a telescope for star parties, this is remarkable. Well, I'm going to stop it here. That's a pretty decent image. And I will save a copy. Go to M78. Now the one thing that this does lack is mosaic mode. If it had mosaic mode, we could have done both the Horsehead and Flame nebulas. Interestingly enough, in automatic mode, it's actually designed for the alt-azimuthal mount. You don't need to equatorial align it, and your image quality, if you go back to some of my earlier videos with the Celestron, were similar to what I have tonight, albeit with a different camera. But I am disappointed that star quality just wasn't up to snuff with the longer exposure times. And I will have to sort that issue out, because reasons I bought the setup, the wedge, and the guide scope. I really wanted to push this to the limits, and I thought tonight might have been the night. So I need to sort out whether it's a problem with the wind or if there's something else going on. But 15-second tracking does give you very good star quality. And if you look at how quickly M78 begins to appear, that's just remarkable. Just 9 frames. This is just amazing. Scope hardware is just unbelievably good. I wish the software were better. Now, Celestron is selling the Raza 6 now, so that you can build your own setup. And Raza 6 is, probably one of my favorite scopes. Field of view's about right. I wish it had mosaic, but if you put it on an astrophotography rig and you use one of the common systems, Nina, ASI, Air, StellarMate, it's anything that works with Alpaca and ASCOM, it basically would make a wonderful outfit. You could do mosaics. I think the Raza 8, I've seen a lot of work that people have done with the Raza 8, and it does remarkably good work, but field of view is just not as good as the Raza 6. So to do a mosaic, you have to take quite a few more tiles. I really think the Raza 6 is a sweet spot. And again, I'm just looking at this image. That is not bad at all. Resolution, color, and that's done with just 15-second exposures. with your focal ratio of 2.2, it just collects a lot of light. If I compared this to my rig, I have an Apertura APO 90, so it's a 90 millimeter, focal length 540 millimeters. That's with the one-time field flattener. I also have a 0.8 field flattener, so that's 432 millimeters. My focal ratio, I think, is 5.6 with the one time, and I think it's 4.6 with the 0.8. But in order for me to be able to collect the same amount of light as this Raza has done in 420 seconds, you can multiply that number by around 5, so let's say 2,500 seconds to catch that same image. And my rig is actually a very nice setup. I have high quality optics. So yeah, Raza is just absolutely remarkable. The only complaints really are, I wish it were ASCOM and Alpaca compatible. I wish it did mosaic mode. I wish that it could accommodate a cooled camera, because this camera is not. Wow. Here we are, about 450 seconds in. I don't think we need any more. I'll just save this image. Okay, so let's go to which head? I see 2118. Now this is technically in Eridanus, but it really borders Orion. So I put it in my Orion list. You can see how close it is to M42. this is where a mosaic would really make a lot of sense, because you can see from this that you're only picking up about half of the nebula. And if the camera were able to rotate easily, if I could simply go out and not have to strip down the top of the scope to rotate this camera and then adjust, you can catch more of this, but unfortunately that's not the easiest thing to do, and it's not advisable to do in a field situation. But those of you who have tried to capture the witch head, you know, it takes quite a few frames on a sea star. It's not the brightest nebula. So we'll compare how this does. I had done the Witch Head Nebula with my sea star in Columbia, my S50, S30, and my Dwarf 3 and my Dwarf Mini, and then my S50 as Starfront observatories. Now we will see how the light gathering capability of the Rasa 6 compares. Well, at least on the screen with the iPad, I can begin to see a very thin white cloudy area forming right in the center. As I mentioned before, even with my Apertura APO90, it would take quite a few frames. Now with that one, I could bump up my exposure time. I could easily go to 300 seconds. So my signal to noise ratio would improve. But earlier when we tried running 30 seconds, the star shapes were teardrop, and we dropped it down to 20, but we still had misshapen stars. And I can't attribute it to poor polar alignment because I used the Celestron method of polar aligning, but you can also sight Polaris along the fork of the Celestron, and it looked good. So I don't know if it's caused by there is a slight wind, probably 10-mile-per-hour gusts. But, you know, between 15 seconds with this automatic mode and 20 seconds in manual mode, I don't see how you get such a difference in the star shape between the two modes. So something's going on that I need to pin down. Now this one takes quite a bit of doing. You need a lot of frames to collect enough light to begin to make out the witch's head. It's a pretty dim nebula, and I think it's a good test. I included it because I was interested to see how the various scopes compared. I anticipated that this one would really blow away the other telescopes. But we're 405 seconds in, and I could just barely see the white wispy nebula in the center area. I think even with this telescope, it's going to be a very long exposure time. Or a long session. I really wasn't planning to image for that long. I really wanted to spend no more than 10 minutes per object. This one I'm sure would take closer to an hour, just looking at the way it's progressing at this point. see autopilot is back. Good evening. Well, the plan is I will let this one go for about 10 minutes. And we'll see what we can see, and then I want to move on. After the witch head, I'll go to monkey head. And that will be my last object in the neighborhood of the Orion Nebula. So that'll be NGC 2174. Now I anticipate that if you saw last night's broadcast where I had the sea stars, and the sea stars basically picked up the monkey head, did a very nice job, so I'll be interested to compare how this does. Yeah, the witch head is an interesting target. Unfortunately, I think it will take quite a bit longer than the 10 minutes I want to allot to this. This would be a target that you probably want an hour, maybe a couple hours on. And if you joined late, there was an issue with going to a higher exposure time, so I had to go back to automatic. So it's only doing 15-second exposures. I tried 30, and I had teardrop-shaped stars, and then I went down to 20 in manual mode. And at that point, I just decided to go back to automatic. So I'm not really gaining all the benefits of actually having an equatorial aligned telescope. This one's got a wedge, it's got a guide scope, and I used the C-Star alignment software, and I got about as close to dead center as possible given the play on the screws. So the alignment was checked. The alignment was checked by a second alignment run, and it was still dead on. So and then I also did a visual check. The fork of the Celestron was aimed right at Polaris, just about as perfect as it could be. So whatever is happening with longer exposure times, I can't explain at this point. I think in this mode, automatic, it's not doing badly. Corner stars look good. Star shape looks good. And as I I went through kind of a back of the envelope discussion as to how much more light collection you get with this rososcope as compared to my Apertura APO90, the 90mm scope. Even with my 0.8 time adapter, where I have about a 4.6 focal ratio, this scope basically will collect roughly 5 times more light. So if I did a 10-minute exposure with this, it would be equivalent to about a 50-minute exposure or a session with the Apertura, and that is a very good scope. So this scope is just amazing. It's a light bucket, and if we had more time tonight, I would spend an hour or two imaging. But at this point, I'm not going to. I'm just going to go ahead and shut it down. And I'll save the image. My goal is to post this on a link later on the video description. So like I said, next image 2174. Nope, that's not correct. It's NGC. Mistyped. Let's go back. Let's just put in doing this, but I'm just gonna look it up. NGC 2174, that is correct. Well, description sure wasn't right. Let's the right constellation. Let's see what it looks like. Well, that's a clear star map on Celestron. Doesn't use a common name. I hope this image is the correct image. We'll see in a moment. Yeah. It's odd that they don't use the name Monkey Head in the description, but this is the correct image. Yesterday, when I imaged the Monkey Head Nebula with the C-Star S30 Pro and I used the C-Star S30, it took me about, oh, I'd say 15 minutes to get something this clear. And here I've only done this in 5 frames. I think this really demonstrates the power of this Raza scope. I really would not want to tackle the Horsehead Nebula without having a mosaic mode in the Celestron. But I chose that as a means of comparing how scopes behave with very dim targets, and I thought it would really embellish the features of the scopes for collecting light. But even a Raza is going to take quite a bit of time. I'm not sure doing a Horsehead with the Celestron is the right target to go to. I mean, technically you could stitch photos together, but Celestron's means of positioning the field of view is cumbersome. So, you know, it'd be very hard to do separate tiles that were evenly spaced. But I think technically you could do it. I just don't think the scope is really built to do that sort of thing. I think Celestron has to include it in the software. this is a fast scope. I know when I talked to the Celestron techs, I was wondering if I was stuck with just using the Celestron dual band filter. I wanted to use some other filters. And basically, they said that their filters are the appropriate thickness. He told me what that was, and I have it in my notes somewhere. But if you go with off-the-shelf filter and it's not the appropriate thickness, then what you need to do is manually focus so it won't do autofocus. Now I know there are some filters that are thick enough. I've seen others have success with them, and still they're able to autofocus. But yeah, I do have a filter on this. It is a Celestron dual band filter. I tend to run that filter all the time. I don't put their clear filter in, and that's because my skies are not the greatest. I mean, right now they're Bortle 6, but when the moon starts to rise, they're going to quickly climb. I'll probably get up to Bortle 8 by the time the moon is shining. Oh. So a dual band filter is useful for me, but I do have a Apatera filter for blocking moonlight and sky shine. Yeah, this is a smart scope, the Celestron Origin. Is a competitor to all the smart scopes, but it's a very high-end smart scope. It costs, oh, I think it was like $42.95, but don't quote me on that. That's for the latest version, Celestron 2, and it has a IMX 678 camera versus the original camera, which was an IMX 178. Now I had the Origin 1, but I bought the camera and put the 678 in. So I effectively have an Origin 2. Everything else is pretty much the same. So yeah, this is an Origin 2. I didn't know you were in Canada. Yeah, you guys pay a premium for telescopes. And I think you must charge a tariff. So it must have increased in price recently. Yeah, I've noticed in the US, when I buy equipment, costs have gone up because a lot of equipment I buy comes from China. So that's about a 25% markup. I think it used to be like 10%, so you feel it. Yeah, I guess, what's your exchange rate in Canada? Is it like 83 cents per dollar? or 83 cents per Canadian dollar. It's been a while since I've been to Canada. I used to go to Vancouver quite a bit. And I remember you always hovered around mid-80s. 73 cents. Wow. It has been a while since I've been there. Well, for me, that would be a bargain. I could go to Canada and live like a king. But at that exchange rate, I don't think it's very conducive to tourists coming here. Now this is just remarkable. You know, you compare this image to the images yesterday with the S30 Pro and the S30. And the Pro has an excellent camera. It's a IMX 585. And it is also 8.3 megapixel. But what you get is a really different resolution due to the optics. The resolution on this one is about 1.48 arcsecond per pixel, whereas the Pro, let me look at this, 3.75 arcsecond per pixel. So definitely a pretty large difference. I'll take it up to about 50 images and then go on. I had planned to do Orion, my winter target list, and I think what I'm going to do, since we're in the proximity, is try to catch some of the image or the winter targets in Monoceros, like the Rosette. Maybe we get the Cone Nebula. There's a point where I'm going to have tree interference. I think I'm still okay though. Yeah, with a traditional rig, you are way more flexible. And I have a rig as well, but I pick these scopes up, buy them, sell them, because I like testing them. And I'm just not done testing this one, so I want to wait and see if they upgrade the software to do mosaics. Yeah, I'm good here. Let's just save and let's see what we can do. This scope with the old camera took one of the most interesting pictures of the rosette. You don't have mosaic, but you can get kind of the center of the nebula, and it is one of my favorite pictures. I use it as a wallpaper for my computer. And let's see, I'll show you. Let me pull out of here. I'm going to close this, and I think the rosette's just right there. So we'll go to it. And I'm going to put my webcam on. Okay, on the webcam, what you see is me, and that background, that's the Horsehead Nebula that was taken with the Celestron, and that's the old camera. Well, that's weird. Let's see. There we go. So let's see if we can get a similar image tonight. This is the new camera. It's the 678. So it's got a better camera, lower noise. Yeah, this is one of my favorite targets. So I look forward to doing this one. Now on the image that I used for my background, I did process it. I used PixInsight. Okay, there you go, one frame. You can see it, it's clear. Yeah, the H alpha and O3, that's starting to come out. Now with regard to wallpaper, yeah, you see the dark lanes as well. It's amazing. I do have links in some of my prior videos where you can download wallpaper. I don't know if I included my favorite one with the rosette, but I may do that. I think this image is coming out really well, and I will put a link to it in when I have a chance to upload the picture to my PC, and then I'll put it in my Dropbox account and then set up a link. But this has the potential to be a real keeper. Now, the one thing that kind of bothers me is when I installed the camera, I took a whole new set of darks, new set of flats, and I haven't been able to use the telescope due to weather since I think maybe I used it once, but that was prior to Christmas, and so I haven't done a new set of darks or flats, but I'm seeing hot pixels in this picture, so something has changed in the sensor while sitting. So it tells me that tonight, before I put it away, I'm going to take a whole new set of darks and flats. 420 seconds in. Now I can't really get this kind of quality with any of the smaller telescopes. Now I have to take the images, restack them, put them into PixInsight, process them. And then I can improve the quality of a C-star image and a dwarf image, but just looking at this coming onto the screen, the software that Celestron put together has done a very good job. I'm looking at the screen on my iPad. I don't think it looks better on my iPad than it does on my monitor. And I did set up this streaming to adjust color correctly. But the image I see on the screen on my monitor's got a little bit green in it, but I do not have that on my iPad. See what I pick up here. Okay. I've been adjusting this new broadcast system I put in. And today I spent a couple hours doing adjustments because last night's broadcast abruptly quit, and I thought it was due to a weak internet signal, but that wasn't the case. Somehow my settings had changed from, I set it up to do 4K broadcast, and so my first broadcast at 4K settings were correct, and then shut the computer down, started it up, and it went back to settings I had with my old station. And that's basically what happened, is that I had drop frames and it abruptly quit. So I went in and readjusted everything. So I'll have to check settings every time I start a broadcast to make sure nothing changes. Now, when you do a broadcast on YouTube, you have a key, broadcast key, that you can input into your OBS or Streamlabs software, and what it will do is it'll stabilize the broadcast if you go through blips in the internet connection. And I had set that up for my first try at the 4K, but completely disappeared last night. So basically the broadcast stopped at Bodhi's Galaxy, but I think there was enough in it to be interesting, because it did test the response time of the S30 versus the S30 Pro, which was my goal. And the S30 Pro was not effectively uploading the stacked images, and that's been a sore point with the S30 Pro. I think it stopped at the point where I was talking about one of the viewers contacting me about issues with the S30 he's had. And he said that he's had similar issues with stacking, but that there were other problems. And I didn't get a specific list, but for me, the S30 main problem has been the lag in uploading the stacking. And I did tests last night to make sure it wasn't a weak internet signal or upload download. I did side-by-side comparisons of the S30 versus S30 Pro to see if it was the C-Star app, and you know, there was a difference. The S30 behaved much differently. Now I know it has a 2.1 megapixel image versus 8.3 megapixel in the S30 Pro, and yeah, the image is going to have 4 times the number of bits to download, but it still couldn't explain the lag. So I'm still puzzling over the S30. I suspect it must be something in the software, and that I did send a message to C-Star, or to SWO, CWO, to alert them to the problem. Told them to watch the video and ask them whether or not it was a bug that's going to be updated, or if there's some other issue going on that I don't know about. Haven't received a response, so I can't really fill you in on anything new. And in terms of a usable telescope, it is really nice in the sense that it has a really excellent camera. It has wonderful field of view. The wide angle on the Pro is just incredibly better than competitors. I have the data on that. I think I posted it on a prior broadcast, but let's see if I've got it here. Wide angle. So if you look at all the scopes with wide angle lenses, the Dwarf 3 uses an IMX 307. It has a focal ratio of 3.4. Field of view is 45 by 25 degrees, and it is 2.1 megapixel. The Dwarf Mini uses an IMX 662. Focal ratio is 2. It has a 50-degree field of view, and it is 2.1 megapixel. So that's actually not bad, 50-degree field of view. You go to the C-Star S30, it uses a GC2083, I'm not sure what that is. It has a 23.2 degree field of view. So it's got the smallest field of view. And then the Pro, that uses IMX 586, and that's a pretty good chip. And its field of view is 63 degrees. And believe it or not, it is an 8.3 megapixel. I'll check on that, but I believe that's 8.3 megapixel. So by far that's for wide angle work, that's the best one. You want to do Milky Way photography, that's the way to go. If you want to do star trails, that's the way to go. So even though I have all the issues I've mentioned, none of the scopes I've had have been issue-free. I've had to deal with glitches on all of them. The Celestron, it used to glitch a lot. I'd have to restart it a lot. And then they upgraded the software and it got better. And they just upgraded it. I did an upgrade today. And it, I don't exactly know what they upgraded. It seems to operate like it used to. So I'm not having, the only thing I could say is that the star quality on logger exposure times was poor, but I can't say that software. I don't know what caused that. It could be the wind. So that's still something we have to sort out. But C-Stars, I've had a lot of issues with the earlier versions. I always had to do restarts and reboots, and you know, eventually you can go through a series of procedures and get them, and I did get them to work, and I have videos on that if you go back in time. I talked about methods to overcome certain deficiencies, but they they have improved. And I suspect that the Pro will improve with time. So, is that the camera I'd take if I were traveling? And I'm still a big fan of the wide angle. For me, that's important. So, yeah, I'd pick that one. My other choice, which I like a lot, is the Dwarf Mini. And I would, it's so small that if I took both the Pro and the Dwarf Mini, I'd have the ability to essentially do imaging with, like if I went hiking, I'd take the Dwarf Mini, it's light. But if I go to a dark site where I could drive in, I'd use the Pro. But Dwarf Mini is so small that its use would be as a light traveling companion if you're on a walking tour. So those would be my two choices. Yeah, I think with regard to SWO, they're talking about a C-Star 70 Pro. Man, that would be something. That gets you up to the kind of optics you have on a rig. I think with the S30 Pro, the other thing is it has quadruple lenses. So imagine with the 70 they also do quadruplet. I don't think they could use a cooled camera in a portable unit. That's a failing. I'm seeing that my card is messing up again. You'll notice that the image split. That's the Elgato. And I have to, we're talking about issues where you have to stop and restart on computer equipment. You're not immune to it by building a computer. Even a very highly regarded card like Elgato does have, it's an HDMI means of taking a screen from an iPad or other device and converting it into video signal. So it behaves just like a camera. You can put it on as a camera for your streaming system, and gives 4K quality. And the reason I got it was rated high. Other streamers have recommended it, but it doesn't come without its glitches, and you saw one. I had to do a deactivation and reactivation to get it back. It'll split for no reason, and to me that's that's an issue, because oftentimes what I like to do when I do an imaging session is go for hours, and I'm not always in the room with the system, because I'll do long images. I want people to be able to see how a certain system behaves as it develops an image and stacks it. And so when you do these long sessions, you want your streaming software to work for a long session. And what I'm finding is Elgato does split the image, and it seems to occur randomly, but I've been streaming for what, about 2 hours now, and it split the image. Now, if I were not manning this, I would not have caught it, and it would have been a split image. Now, other software programs I use for streaming, I have AirDroid. That's one program I use. Another is A-Power Mirror. And then I use Reflector 4. And the way they work is, well, with A-Power Mirror and AirDroid, I can simply plug in a USB cable onto an iPad, and the AirDroid and A-Power Mirror will pick it up. Or I can use something like a Google Pixel pad. So it works with either Android or iOS, and it will pick up that signal. And you also can use Wi-Fi and connect to A-Power Mirror and AirDroid through Wi-Fi. And you have 2 ways of doing it. You can either do a screen mirroring using a built-in Apple function, and Androids have a similar function which they call Screencast, I think. But that's one way to work with those 2 programs. And then the other way is just connecting to it by using a key. It would be a direct Wi-Fi connection. So I've played around with these programs because one of the things you want is stability in the broadcast. And what I find is that the AirDroid and A-Power Mirror tend to be pretty stable if I use a USB connection. I was hoping Elgato would give me that kind of stability. Well, anyway, looking at the rosette, that is, again, the image here I'm getting on my monitor is big green. I'm not seeing that on my screen. And I'm going to have to sort that out, but image on my screen looks pretty sharp, and the colors are correct, no green. But let's stop it here. I have 118 frames, which is, that's a reasonable number. And I do have some editing tools which we can look at. So Celestron does offer that. Okay, let's see. I hate doing this, but I'm going to flip my iPad around to get a full screen. And then I can go to editing, and you see the tools I have. I have brightness, contrast, saturation, sharpening. So we can brighten this up. Adjust the contrast. Let's see if the saturation can bring out the colors a little better. Yeah, I can highlight. Sharpening usually doesn't do very much. Maybe I'm a little oversaturated. Let's go down a little bit. And you can see that we have an improved image. I think the oxygen and the H alpha come out a little better. And I will save that image. Let's overwrite it. And I'll share this one. And I'll close it and we'll see what the Cone Nebula looks like. Now in my other winter objects, where I did the Monoceros Nebula and deep sky objects, I think you can go back and look at those if you want to compare. I think I also put links to photos, so if that's of interest to you, go to those images and pull out the photos. And I think that's a good way to compare what each of the smart scopes are capable of. Now, mostly what I've done, I've not tried to, with the smart scopes, process them with PixInsight or Cyril. I've just used the tools that were available on the smart telescope. Oh, this is interesting. 2 images and you can see the cone. Huh. And the Christmas tree. Yeah, it took way longer with the sea stars and dwarfs. Even with the S50 in Texas, where the skies are Bortle 1. I never saw anything like this. It took a long session. Well, I think what I'll do, I'll get 10 minutes in. We'll see what the image looks like. And after this one, I will call it a night. may spend some time taking darks and flats tonight before I put the scope up. I want to see if I can get rid of the hot pixels. I had my darks done as when I installed the camera, so you know, with the Celestron they don't they have a technique to do darks, but you seldom use that method to take new darks, even though the camera's at different temperatures. Now when I did my darks, it was indoors and it probably was about 70 degrees, whereas the outside temp right now is 59. Almost 60. Yeah, I use a thermocouple that I actually put on the telescope so I can read. I can read the temperature at the telescope. I'm going to have to do something about the color, because this is not broadcasting what I see on the iPad. I went through recommended setups, so from the C-Star or the Streamlabs website, and with my graphics card setup, I used what was recommended, but that's not the real color that you're seeing. It's too green. Again, this is just amazing at how much light it collects. 24 frames, and the image is as good as or better than what I had with the C-Stars in about 30 minutes. probably go up to 50 frames, so I'm at 36. Then we'll save the picture and I will be done for the night. Okay, let's download and save. thank you for watching, for those of you who have stayed on. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. That helps the channel. If you haven't subscribed and you like the content, I'd appreciate it if you would. And I wish you a good night.